In today's video, we will be looking at instances inside Daz Studio as requested by Looney, our wonderful YouTube community member. So Looney, thank you very much for your question, and this video is going to help you and anybody else who wants to understand instances and really see what they can do inside Daz Studio. So before I explain instances, what I'm going to do is actually create one, and then I can further explain exactly how they work and what they do. So I'm going to grab my figure here, click on my figure here in the scene tab. I'm going to go to create, and I'm going to create a node instance. So create new node instance. So again, a very familiar dialog here. You can see, again, you can change the label here if you wish to do so. I'm not going to. These options don't really matter too much. We're not going to parent the item to the existing figure, and we are not going to copy it from anything from a selected item. We are just going to use the default settings. So click accept. And there you go. So what I'm going to do, this is my node instance here, my copy of my character. I'm just going to move it here so you can tell the difference. Cool. Okay, so one thing you notice straight away inside the scene tab is this icon here looks very different to all the other icons over here in our scene tab. So as we know, an object like this is a figure. An object like this is just an object. It's a prop. And this here is a group, which I'll show you shortly why I've hidden that. This is again an object, and this is an instance. So you can see the icon here is very different. This means this is an instance. So basically what an instance is a copy of the original with one big caveat. So I'll explain the caveat very shortly. So when I click on my main figure here and I go to services, so this is my main figure, the one here in the middle, the one with the bounding boxes. See these bounding boxes? That's my main figure. I go to surfaces of my original figure, and you can see this original figure has got surfaces. So I can change the surfaces. I can do lots of wonderful things using the Iray shader engine. When I click on my instance, you'll notice that there is no surfaces. So that's one of the big caveats is there are no surfaces, meaning we are basically using our original figure as our base for all the surfaces. And that's what instance is. An instance is just a copy without any of the control of the surfaces. So for example, if I went to the original figure here and I said, I want to change the color of your skin, color of your metallic skin color, whatever it is, the white. Let's say I change it to a different color. Let's say I change it to red. It does exactly the same to the copy. So the instance is using everything, the information regarding the original figure here. So for example as well, if I decided to move the leg here, what do you think is going to happen? And if you said the leg will move of the instance, you are correct. The leg will move of the instance as well. So you can see the power straight away there of instances. Very cool. Now, one of the great things about instances is because the reason why we use them is because you can create several copies and really have minimum overhead in your scene. So if you were doing a very large scene and you were going to have, like, I don't know, you've seen Avengers Endgame, you've seen all those, I can't even know what the names are, the monsters, I'm going to call them monsters, I'm pretty sure I got it wrong. You see all those characters running from the right, all those CGI characters. I'm pretty sure some of them were probably instances and were not duplicates. So that's going to save you a lot of memory. So in terms of that, when you have several characters in a scene like that, it's going to save you memory. Now, obviously, the con is that we can only copy what the original is. So our original figure here, we can only do what this original figure does. We can't make this figure do anything else. There are no bones allocated to it. That's the only bad point about instances. So there is another way we can create instances. If we go back to the original here, you would have noticed, go to create. There is another option here, new node instances. Now the first one only lets us do one copy, and if you're guessing right, the second one lets us do multiple copies. We can choose as many instances as we wish to do so. So I will leave it as 10. I will put a 10 here for the label so I know it's 10. And I'm going to do accept. So now you can see we have got 10 copies of that there, exactly the same as our original. Now what's happening in the scene tab is it automatically creates a group. When we expand the group, there are our 10 instances right inside there. Again, when I do something to my original, whatever that is, any body movement, all the rest will move as well. Right. Excellent. Okay, so that's instances in a nutshell. It's very simple, very straightforward to use. Another con of the instances is that we cannot choose where they are placed. So they are kind of randomly placed by Daz Studio to some sort of algorithm that Daz Studio uses. I'm not sure what the algorithm Daz Studio uses to place these randomly. So we cannot control where these instances are placed. However, there are some plugins on the Daz 3D store which can allow us to control the placement of our characters within a specific region, and I'll be covering those very shortly in this tutorial. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you another feature of what you can do with instances. Let me just unparent these. Okay, we'll remove that group. Now you can see I have got, if you can imagine in my scene, I have loads of instances and it's going to take up a lot of the scene window here, and I don't need to move them anymore. I've got them all, for example, just imagine I've got them all in the exact same position where they should be, where I want them to be in the scene. I don't want to move them or anything, but I want to make this scene tab here more manageable. What can I do? So I can select the first node instance here. I can go to edit, I can go to object, and I can go to instances, and I can do group like sibling instances. So what that does is it's going to put all the instances into one box, into one instance. So when I click that, you'll see what happens. So here we go. They're all like categorized into one manageable area instance. If I use my translate tool here, you can see that when I move them, all of them will move in conjunction with each other because we have created a group. So that's really cool. That's one function of that. So let's say, for example, it's like, oh, actually, I want you to move this one a bit further forward. I can break that group. So I can go to edit with that instance set. I can go to edit, object, instances, and break instant group. And now we're back to the original setup, the original layout here, as you can see. So I can click on that one and say, actually, I want you to move it here. And then we can go back and create a group, sibling groups. There we go. And we're back to normal again. So that's another feature you can use inside instances. Very cool indeed. So there you can see instances very powerful, but with one major caveat, which is we can only control what the original one does, and the original figure that everything's based on, or the original item, and we cannot control where these are placed until now. So we've got actually two plugins I'm going to look at right now. So I'm going to go to the website, Daz 3D website. So the first one I'm going to look at is Instances Plus. And the second one I'm going to look at is Ultrascatter Pro. Now I'm only going to look at these very briefly. I'm not going to go into too much detail because that would take another like tutorial, especially Ultrascatter Pro. There are so many options in here. It literally would take 30-40 minutes to explain all of them. And so I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to show you what the power of instances are once you have better control. Now obviously I'm not asking you to go buy these. This is not a paid for video or anything like that. It is up to you if you want to go buy this. I'm not asking you to go buy it whatsoever. I'm just going to show you that once we have control of instances, what wonderful things we can do with these plugins. So let's go back to Daz Studio. And what I'm going to do first, I'm going to hide my robot guy here. And I'm going to go to my content library. And we're going to start off with Instances Plus. So with Instances Plus, you get this wonderful icon. Let's double click it. Let me just zoom out a bit more. Double click. Cool. Let me just move this to the side so you can see the screen there. So it's quite straightforward to use. On this side here, you choose what option or what object you want to create an instance of. So in this case, I want to create an instance of my plants. And then it says here, we're going to leave this section here. This is you only use this section when you have multiple copies. I'll show you very shortly when I do this. You can choose here, where do you want it to drop down to or drop up to. So I want it to drop on my plane, which is here, as you can see. And I'll go to settings. So in settings, what is my action? I want to create instances. How many do I want to create? So let's say I wanted to create, I don't know, let's go crazy. Let's say 40. What type? So we're going to just do random for now. This is where the magic happens. So here is where we can actually create our section where we want to place our random plants. So as you'll see, when I start to increase this, you'll see that this yellow box starts to appear as I increase these options here. So you can see this yellow box here. That's the random area where our 40 instances would be placed. So I'm going to just increase this here. Very easy to use this one, very easy, much more easy to use than Scatter Pro. Ultimate Scatter Pro, Ultra Scatter Pro is a lot more difficult to use. So I think that'll do. And then I just hit process. And there we go. Randomly, my 40 have appeared. Okay, I can do close here now and I can see. So it randomly puts them in that area. There you go. That's 40 there. I'm not going to count them all, but you can see here in the scene tab, we have got 40. There you go. So obviously the only issue with Instances Plus is it doesn't really create a group. It just creates one like 40 copies of this instance. Obviously we know the cure for that. We can just go to edit, object, and we can go to instances and do group like sibling instances, and that will just create one. So that's cool. Let's go back inside. Let's go in here and let's use the arrange by selected. So we've got my plant and arrange multiple nodes that we use, arrange selected. So here I'm going to arrange where I want these particular existing instances to move to. So I can select, clicking them individually. Let's say the first 10. I'm not going to go click all 40. Let's say the first 15. So wherever the first 15 are, go on the plane, settings. So I'm going to choose arrange selected. Now we don't get the number of instances because we already selected them here, 15 of our ones that we already created. So now we can choose where we want to move them. So we can say, all right, actually I wanted them, where are we? Sorry, here we go. I wanted them in this particular area here. So I wanted them there, process. Okay, now it's moved 15 of them randomly into this area here. So if I do close, you will see it's moved them here, this particular area, 15. So that's Instances Plus. Let me just actually delete all these so we don't get confused. So let's go back to Instances Plus. Let's choose our plant. Again, let's do the same thing. I want it on the plane, settings. And this time I want to do inline. So inline, and I want to create copies inline. So say I wanted 20. So inline allows you to create a line on the x-axis, on the y-axis, on the z-axis. So basically, if I, for example, said I don't want any in the y-axis, and I didn't want any in the z-axis, I'm only going to get them in the x-axis. So if I change this to 50, there will be 50 centimeters between each of them before they're created. So I do process, and you'll see here. So there's my first one, 50 centimeter gap. Next one, 50 centimeter gap. Next one, 50 centimeter gap. And it's all in a wonderful line, as you can see here. There we go, 50 of those. And again, we've got 50 of them here as well. Sorry, 20 of them here as well. So we got one, the original, 50 centimeter gap. Then the next one, 50 centimeter gap. That's how it works. Really easy to use. And finally, we are going to do matrix. So click on click on plant. Again, I want it on the plane. Let me just check that there. Matrix. Okay, so this is just going to create a matrix. So I can say, right, I want 5 on the x-axis, 5 on the y-axis, and 5 on the z-axis. And we're going to leave the settings as they are. We can change the distances between them. So I could say, you know what? I want 10 centimeter space between each of them equally. There we go. And I could put rotation as wanted if I wanted to as well. So I could get really creative and say, let's do a 45-degree rotation on the x-axis. And let's see what that looks like. So the process. All right. And there they are in a matrix. So let me see if I can zoom in so you can see what it looks like. So that is what they look like in our matrix. Obviously the gap needs to probably be a bit more bigger actually. I should have done more of a gap there. So we can check NVIDIA preview and have a look at that. There we go. Looks very like a very grassy area almost. So that's Instances Plus. Very easy to use. If you want to, purchase that, you could do if you wanted to. But it's very easy to use, and you do get a lot of. It's just very easy to use. So yeah. So let's move on to the next one, which is going to be Ultrascatter Pro. So this is the one which gives me a lot of headache, but I will do my best to help you with this one. So with Ultrascatter Pro, before we do anything, we've got to select the item which we wish to create an instance of. So it's my plant again. And I'm going to double click Ultrascatter Pro. There it is. So the first option you have is surface, you have volume, and you have matrix. So matrix, very similar to what we did in Instances Pro. You could create the matrix like we did before. I'll show you. There's no need to show you that. It's exactly the same process. You could choose the spaces in between. You could choose the spacing and how many rows and columns. Very, very similar to the way it was on Instance Plus. Volume, I'll show you very shortly. And then surface is the same. So surface will literally, you tell the target, hey, I want you to make a copy of the plant and put it on the plane. And you can choose a number of instances. So we can go crazy like 377 and do surface. There you go. Works very, very quickly, and there we go. That is 377 instances of everything, and it puts it in a group for you as well. So that's kind of cool. It puts it in a group. So when we expand this, they're all in here, and it does it in a very clever way where it's not going to overpower your scene tab. It's categorized in a very clever way. So let's delete that. The next one need to use, the next one I need to show you is the volume. So the volume one obviously requires me to use an object that has volume. So the plane doesn't have any volume, it's a flat object. So that's why I've got the sphere here. So you can use a sphere, you can use a cube, a cylinder, you could use a torus, whatever. It's got volume, there's thickness to it of some sort. With the plane, there's no thickness, it's just a thin sheet metal, so there's no volume inside it, which is why the volume won't work. So here again, we choose our sphere, so it's somewhere here at the bottom, there it is. You can choose the placement, you can actually get creative and make it ordered, so you can do like, almost like a matrix inside the volume. And you can do random. So I'm going to choose random, and again we will choose some sort of crazy number, 377. Mesh accuracy, this is how much detail you want in the copies. So normally it's on high, but you can bring that down to low if you wish to do so. I'll do it to low. I don't think it makes much difference because the object I'm using is not very high quality anyway. So you do volume scatter. Ultrascatter Pro will do its calculations, and there we go. So we have got some volume here that goes around in a sphere. How cool is that? So very powerful Ultrascatter Pro. A lot of cool things you can do with this. One of the cool things I want to show you right now is, let me get my character here back in the middle. Let me just choose my character here, put him back in the middle. Let's turn this around. So let me just delete this here. Let me go back inside here, the plant. So I'm going to do the surface, I'm going to do the plane, and I'm going to do a lot of instances, so something crazy like 2000 odd. Let Ultrascatter Pro do that. It works out very quickly, so that's the one good thing I like Ultrascatter Pro. It's very powerful and does it very quickly. Cool, okay. This is awesome. Okay, excellent. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave that selected. I'm going to go to Ultrascatter Pro. It's going to remember the previous settings because that's what settings are stored in there. And one option I really do like is this option here. When you go to the distribution and you go to the affinity, I'm not going to go through all these settings. They're just too many to do. Otherwise the tutorial will be very, very long. But one of the settings I do like is affinity. Now affinity is really cool because you can say, right, these objects here, these instances here, I want them to either attract to my object here, or I could get them to repel, move away. So for example, if I said to these objects, I've got my object here, my person standing here, I want these to repel, move away. So let's say we move them away by 20 centimeters. So do surface scatter. How much does it move away? So let's do the calculation. You should see the plants move away 20 centimeters away from his feet. So here you can see they've moved away a little bit there. All right, I'm going to actually do a bit more than 20. We're going to do something like 100. And we're going to use this option here as well. So we can use the fall off. So let's say we'll have a 1 meter fall off and we will do ease out. So it's going to gradually ease out. That's what it's going to do. Surface scatter. Let's go. So you can do very powerful things with this Ultrascatter Pro. There we go. So it's kind of moved away. It's moved away using the repel option. So it's really cool. It makes it look very natural. For example, if you wanted very natural growth of something, you could just put an object here, make it hidden, and then you can make it look very natural, like there's just a randomness gap there. It's really great for that. So one more final thing I'm going to cover is I'm just going to need to create a torus. So primitive torus accept. Let me just bring that up. Let's actually increase the size 200%. Can I rotate this so we can get a better look? Cool, okay. So another thing I'm going to cover very quickly is get my plant here. And we will have a look at, let me just get the torus here very quickly. Taking a very long time because there it is. Okay, so I'm going to use the surface scattering with, we'll say about, we'll say 100. Let's have a look at some of these settings very quickly. So distribution, elevation, I'm just going to very quickly. Elevation, it would be if you had a physical building or some sort of object that was in height, and you could choose the elevation of the actual instances. You could choose the slope. So this is what I'm going to use. We're going to use the slope and the orientation with this one because we've got our torus here. So we could say degrees of say 100 and something. We'll say something like here. Orientation, we could change the orientation. So we can say what kind of orientation in degrees, and the angle, the pitch as well. We can go into some crazy details. We can do the scaling as well. We can say, okay, I want you to reduce the X scaling, increase the Y, increase the Z, and the rotation. We can even control the rotation. So we can say, right, actually I want to increase the rotation by X, Y, and Z, and do surface scatter. Okay, so you can do a lot of crazy things here like this. You can see that you can literally put any instance onto any object, into any angle you wish to do so, into any orientation or any angle or anything you want to do like that, any rotation. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. I don't think you can see the rotation that well. Let me just go into NVIDIA iRay so you can see that very quickly. So you can see the rotation here a little bit. There we go. So you can see the rotation here. You can see the rotation there. So yes, this was a shorter video, but I hope you find it helpful into instances and how you can use them. Very powerful they are indeed. Make sure to leave a comment down below and let me know if you want me to cover anything else or anything else you want to add regarding instances. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more cool videos like this. And I'll see you all in next week's video.